Alright everyone, well, you probably saw my profile, and if you recognized me, you probably are gonna think this is gonna be biased as fuck. Um, well, I'm gonna try not to be. Now, I'll be honest, towards the end of this video, it's gonna sound more biased because I know my script, but you might be surprised. It won't be as brain dead, oh, Hax is right about everything, as you might think. Um, but anyway, here's a funny tweet by Andrew Nestico. And I'm one of these people. Pictures of Word docs are so fucking cringe because, yeah, reading is hard, man. So, um, what I decided to do is instead of not reading everything he said, I decided to read everything he said about 3 times at this point and make a script about it, reviewing it. And also, I'm gonna read it word for word so that anyone who is like me who likes listening to stuff, um, they have an easier time. So, let's get started because this is gonna be long. Right, I've watched Hax's edited video. I'd like to say I appreciate the removal of his criticism of the UCF team and accept his apology. Um, The following is my reply to his video regarding the merits of his proposal. By the way, this is the first and last interruption. I'm going to read this straight. I won't criticize until the end, okay? Intro 1.03 proposes to modernize Melee, fixing controller mechanics because possible errors in game design make certain actions unnecessarily difficult. The end result of this, even if it isn't the initial goal, is to buff controllers past the ideal OEM and closer to box territory. The UCF proposes to fix controller mechanics to match an ideal OEM and expects boxes to be brought in line separately. Also, current and beta UCF is full stealth. Every time UCF code runs, the visual outcome is indistinguishable from any possible vanilla game state. For example, a UCF dashback is triggered on the pivot frame that always occurs before you dash back. You cannot tell from the screen alone if a given dashback succeeded because of UCF or because you avoided the tilt turn range and would have successfully dashed back in vanilla melee. Full stealth maximizes the pool of events that can use UCF. Okay. Individual points. So he's addressing, so the 5 stuff is like the timestamps. Okay. So frame 2 hit lag fix. Altimore, the developer of both 1.03 and UCF 0.84, proposed to me that the frame 2 hit lag fix will be included in UCF as it is in line with the goals of UCF and satisfies full stealth. We choose to include it. While not relevant to the current conversation, I think this proves that the UCF team is not ideologically opposed to including the parts of 1.03 which align with UCF into that align with UCF into UCF, but instead chooses not to align with 1.03 based on merits and concerns with the individual fixes. Okay, the Rocky wall jump fix. The Rocky wall jump fix does not satisfy full stealth. There is no transition frame that can mask the Rocky fix. The character drops from ledge for a frame. Then code executes on the next frame to rewind the character's position and retroactively trigger wall jump. This is very non-vanilla behavior. Creating a transition frame would require delaying fall from ledge if a Diraki wall jump is possible on the next frame, which is not a viable solution as it would ruin people's ledge dash timing. For this reason, the Diraki fix is not currently included in UCF. Analog Digital Transition ADT Shield. ADT Shield is admittedly the mechanic I've least considered, but I've been told it does have niche use cases, so removing it isn't an obvious choice. It can also easily be, and commonly is, avoided on OEM controllers by either trigger tricking or removing a trigger spring, which is a simple mod anyone can do if they have the right screwdrivers, which means it doesn't contribute to UCF's stated goal of ending the controller lottery. I also don't think the existence of a button layout that might be superior to a vanilla is a justification of changing a mechanic to make that layout better. This is a perfect example of a difference in 1.03 and UCF due to philosophy differences mentioned above. Z jump toggle. UCF deliberately does not have any toggles. It cannot be turned off in the whole part, in whole or in part. Full stealth necessitates no new UI components on the character select screen. The mod is made for players of all skill levels and is made to be usable even when the players who are not familiar with it or who may not even, sorry, I lost where I was. May not even know it exists. Any silent way to turn a Z-jump on that can accidentally be triggered by a player is not something we want. In my opinion, Z-jump can only be added to UCF if we break full stealth. In a hypothetical world where everyone is confident that we can break full stealth in order to add Z-jump toggle, I would not be against adding it and the other non-full stealth fixes in 1.03 to UCF. But even a single important event which is not comfortable running a non-stealth set of controllers fixes would remove the universal form of universal controller fix. So I am not comfortable taking this step at this time. It would not be something we could easily walk back. Shield drops. 1.03 and UCF fix shield drops differently. UCF takes a pragmatic approach, widening the range of an axe sung shield drop to cover 99% of 99% or more of untouched controller notches. The Y um, equals minus 0.7875 cutoff was chosen after consulting with Cardano, Cardano for this purpose and results in most players. Sorry about that. In most players. Oh god, I'm unprofessional, I'm sorry. In most players using the same shield drop motion as can be used on the vanilla with calibrated notches. On vanilla with calibrated notches. 1.03 chooses to change the mechanic to work with any value before the shield drop cutoff, thus changing the motion to one that passes the notch. The UFC UCF. Oh my God, how long have I been saying UFC? Jesus. The UCF team has been against this since Tax first proposed it in 2017. Back then, it included rolling the stick all the way into the X dead zone, but now it stops before the dead zone. This is another philosophy difference between the two fixes. The new range increases upward in. I wish I could pause it without ending the whole recording. The new range increases upwards in 0.84 is also in support of coverage of untouched controller dodges. A small but non-negotiable portion of OEM controllers only shield tilt after their notch, even under current UCF, because they do not reach the y equals minus 0.6625 cutoff. For shield drop, moving the actuation point upwards to y equals minus 0.6125 covers the vast majority of such controllers. But by but blindly doing so changes the point at which all other controllers shield drop as well. A player regular shield drop with a regular shield drop notch could get pulled in that range on the way to their notch, which would result in them shield dropping a frame early. By forcing two consecutive frames in the new range, plus shortening the frame window and implying the shield tilt intent algorithm to only apply this fix when the user actually wants to shield drop, not shield tilt down. The fix avoids even the tiny chance that a player could shield drop earlier than intended because their controller was pulled in the new range on the way to their notch. Thus, the fix maximizes the chance that only people who hit this range and shield drop because of it are people with high notches who will fail to shield drop in vanilla and current UCF. Competitive players should not target this range. It's primarily for more casual players with unlucky notches. Furthermore, this fix has already undergone extensive testing, including with deliberately miscalibrated notches to show in practice that it works as intended with minimal side effects. It would not be included in UCF 0.84 if this testing did not go well. More on shield drops. Here's Hacks discusses a hypothetical additional change to the shield drop range, which isn't relevant because one, it doesn't exist, and two, it would affect a practically negligible amount of OEM controllers, and therefore isn't something we'd ever consider including. Negligible. I struggle with that one. Anyway, 1.0 cardinal and preserving 0.9875. Hacks mentions that under UCF 0.84, the control stick rim transitions from X point zero point sorry 0.9875 to 1.0. Avoid the y equals 0 axis. Above the y equals 0 axis and back to x equals 0.9875. Below y equals 0. I don't understand why he considers this a negative. It's entirely logical as the rim continues to y equals 0.975, 0.9625, 0.95, etc., all the way to y equals 0.2875 before it reaches the x-axis dead zone. Another philosophy of UCF is to minimize the removal of game states possible under vanilla melee unless absolutely necessary, and UCF 0.84, whereas 13 unit high range is more than sufficient to guarantee hitting 1.0 cardinal with an input held in a cardinal notch without making it trivial to hit or um, y equals 0.9875 impossible to hit. This size was chosen to cut the vanilla y equals 0.9875 range in half and allow players to still pinpoint y equals 0.9875 if necessary. 1.03's 55 unit high range, which completely eliminates the y equals 0.9875, y equals 0.975, and y equals 0.9625 ranges intends to convert even the sloppiest inputs into successful 1.0 cardinals. But that is not a philosophy decision that UCF shares, similar to setting a wide but not maximal range for shield dropping. UCF provides a range for 1.0 cardinal, which makes the input consistent but still requires the player to execute properly. Hax's concern about preserving 0.9875 is irrelevant, as most players with magnitude based upbees will want 1.0 in most cases, keeping the option 0.9875 available but making 1.0 the default does not conflict with anything he sees. However, we are currently trialing turning off 1.0 cardinal fix, i.e. returning to vanilla behavior and retaining 0.9875 as the default. Specifically for Zelda's grounded up B sideways, as Zelda players use several edge cancel setups, which are possible with 0.9875 but impossible for 1.0, as 1.0 is strictly inferior in this very specific case. It makes sense to remove the fix for this case to not ruin their muscle memory. This is still under consideration and not final. That point is so bad, I almost want to interrupt. I actually really want to interrupt. Anyway, vertical throw fix and C-stick ledge fall fix. As these changes affect all analog controllers roughly equal, they are currently outside the scope of UCF, which is primarily to end the controller lottery, the practice of players testing dozens of or hundreds of controllers for ones with ideal properties. I'm not ideological against the two of them as a separate fix, similar to how polling drift fix is outside the scope of UCF, but is completely used alongside it. But to me, these are mechanics changes and must be part of a separate conversation around what buffs and nerfs along analog and digital controllers deserve, assuming the playing field should be evened between the two. My preference is to wait until the currently in progress rule set covering the various non-OEM controllers is completed before making a decision here. Last one, thank God. SDI remainder fix. This fix also cannot be done completely stealth. Also, I disagree with hacks that it is more important to fix um, than the frame to SDI fix, because the absolute worst failure case where SDI remainder fix would apply is that 30% of your SDI distance is lost, going all the way to a near negligible 1% loss. While all failure cases for for the frame to SDI fix result in an entirely dropped SDI input, additionally, the is incidence rate of the remainder fix is a small fraction of, say, missed dashback, because the SDI dead zone of length is less than 0.7, is far larger than the normal dead zone of X or Y is less than 0.2875. Um, Tree frame dash back out of crouch. During the development of UCF 0.84, we evaluated the 1.0 tree frame dash back change. In testing, we found that adding a third frame to the dash back out of crouch window made inputs nearly trivial, to the point where even the dash back out of crouch window made the input nearly sorry, to the point where even intended tilt turns out of crouch and sloppy inputs both triggered dash back. The change is also unnecessary, as a 2-frame window is long enough to be affected by polling issues. For this reason, we're against including the change in UCF 0.84. The change also buffs boxes which do not suffer from failed dashbacks due to RNG polls, because they cannot travel through the range in question while attempting a dashback out of crouch. Dash mechanics slide. I wish I could interrupt this one. I know what this is. This slide does not mention that UCF dashback is actually smaller than a 2-frame window. Sorry. UCF uses a tilt intent algorithm to calculate the speed of the control stick over 2 frames, and only trigger a UCF dashback if the stick is moving fast enough that the player appears to have intended to dash back. Thus, dash back is not equal to dash forward under UCF. The slide also underestimates the dash back out of crouch success rate. It varies wildly depending on how familiar players are with the input, and our blind testing was complicated by the fact that the players unfamiliar with the input naturally got much better at it over the course of our testing session. Players familiar with the input had a success rate somewhere in the range of 95 to 98% on vanilla melee, with the majority of failures occurring due to RNG polling rate that the dash back out of crouch range fix in UCF 0.84 will prevent going forward. This supported our decision to not increase the frame window of dashback out of crouch to 3. Summary: there are 3 cases of fixes in 1.03 that are not included in UCF. One breaks full stealth, ones that break full stealth, the Rocky wall jump toggle, the Rocky wall jump, Z jump toggle, SDI remainder fix. I'm not comfortable with breaking full stealth as long as there's a chance it could decrease the potential pool of events which can use UCF. Ones that don't contribute to the controller lottery. Analog digital transition shield vertical throw fix, C-stick ledge fall fix. Outside the scope of UCF would be separate mechanical changes, and ones that were decided against after testing. 1.03's shield drop change, 1.03's 1.0 cardinal implementation, 3-frame dashback out of crouch. These go against the design philosophy of UCF. Oh my god. Okay, we're done. Now, I'm gonna have, do you know at the bottom of the screen on YouTube where like there's different sections for the video? So that's the reading section done. If that's all you came for, then sorry I did such a bad job. But if you came for the spicy review, and this is where you actually started the video, then wow. Anyway, we have the spicy review right here. Now it is a script, so the quality of reading is gonna be similar, but I'll try not fuck it up as bad. Um, right then, so frame 2 hit lag fix and agreeing with, okay. So I need to go back to the first one, right? I think the fact that he revealed straight away that he's willing to agree with hacks on some stuff was a good thing. It's not a case of that he's saying hacks is wrong on everything. Um, but one that I don't think is realistic is the next one. Um, you'll see what I mean by realistic because stealth Iraqi wall jump. I get the stealth thing. You can't have Nintendo seeing anything that wouldn't work in vanilla, but it's maybe I'm wrong on this one. Maybe this one should be included in Stealth 1.03, but I just don't think anyone at Nintendo who would be looking out for melee mods that closely would notice something like this. And anyone who would already be watching your every move. Things this subtle would not be blatant enough for the hardcore Nintendo purist businessmen to notice, un unlike Pokemon Stadium not transforming, because that one is super blatant, and the Doraki wall jump fix, I don't think anyone at Nintendo is going to notice, to be honest, but that one is the criticism where I'm most willing to pull it back. Um, well, there's a few where I could pull it back, but let's go to the next one, which was ADT Shield. Not fixing ADT Shield doesn't make sense because didn't Tax show Cody lost a set at Genesis 9 because of ADT Shield? If someone at that level can fall victim to ADT Shield, then how is it reasonable at all for the general player base to just use a screwdriver? Bro, we obviously should not have to do this. And what other esports is taking a screwdriver to your controller the norm? Yeah. So, I mean, Yeah, it's just one of those things where if it can be fixed software side, then why not? Like, I don't see why not. Um, okay, so Z jump toggle is on the next page. Right, Z jump toggle. On one point, O3 Legacy, this can be a blatant toggle, and on stealth mode, there can be a stealth input for turning it on, which will rumble your controller if you did it right. One rumble for on, and two for off. Holding C stick up left while pressing um, Y 7 times in quick succession could be a way to do it. By the way, if Y does something that can be seen to change, um, then change it to something else that can't be seen. I forgot what every button does on the character select screen, to be honest, which I did. So, right, that's that one. That's me getting game designery myself and coming up with my own thing. Now, I don't know if that would work. Why probably fucks up the whole thing. I don't know. Um, but what I mean by not a visible button is, do you know how like Eleanor they change the skins so you can see when people are doing it? Well, that would be something too suspicious if everyone is doing or 7 times on the game startup, then that'd be kind of Nintendo would probably not be dumb enough to not notice eventually, but like something where you can't even see the button has been pressed. Like maybe why? I hope that is one of the buttons where on the character select screen it does nothing. Um, maybe that could be done that way, right? Anyway, um, oh yeah, and then the extra one, um, with the extra notes for shield drop, um, it's another design philosophy difference where I agree with Hacks. I honestly don't see a world where um, range upwards makes more sense than range downwards. The name shield drop and how the characters falls through the platform implies a downward bias stick motion. I don't see any logic in changing it to be a more lenient um, in an upwards direction. By the way, leave your comments if I have something completely wrong. I feel like I might have a couple things wrong, um, so you can educate me, but unless I'm understanding something wrong, it doesn't make any sense to make the shield drop a more upward motion because maybe it's only in Ultimate where this is a thing, but once you hold both shield buttons, you can't stop holding shield. So if you want to tilt your shield down, what you do is you hold both shield buttons and then you can't shield drop, right? Maybe that's because that's one thing that I did see um that could be a problem with what I'm saying. But in that case, all you'd need to do is just hold two shield buttons, and then no matter what, your shield won't go off. Even if you try jump out of shield, maybe that's not the same in melee, um, but in ultimate, that's the case. Well, I'm pretty sure the jump thing. The jump thing is not important. It's stick motions that would interrupt your shield, is what I'm trying to say. So shield dropping. Um, It's confusing because shield dropping sounds close to dropping your shield. Oh, it's identical. How the fuck do I explain this? Letting go of shield, right? You don't want to let go of shield, so you hold two buttons. So if you want a shield drop, you'd hold one button. So that's a way that you could do it. And that's under the assumption that melee works the same as ultimate in that one specific area where you hold two buttons and your shield doesn't go. away. So you can't roll out of shield and stuff like that. That's a way better example. Why didn't I say that at the start? Sorry. Right. Right. Okay. Oh yeah, and there's a part two to this, is there? Oh yeah, more on shield drops. So this is only in response to part two, because part one, it doesn't exist. I'm not really sure why it's even. If Hacks made a mistake there, then whatever. But it's the part two where the practically negligible amount of controllers would be affected. That I had a problem with that sentence because here's what I had to say about it. I'm on the side of accessibility. If someone is at a disadvantage because of their OEM controller um, was considered negligible, then that's literally not fair. And it's why I prefer Hacks to the UCF team because Hacks wants to fix everything, where UCF is more specific for reasons like some controllers are negligible or you can easily take the springs out with screwdrivers. Here's my take. If it can be fixed software side without harming the controls in a different way, then it should be fixed. Right, and after this video, I'll learn how to pronounce negligible because that is probably going to be clipped. Did I keep saying it wrong? Um, yeah, I have a good few words I need to learn how to pronounce. But right, where's 1.0 cardinal and oh yeah, this one is fucking crazy. 1.0 cardinal versus um 0.9875 sounds like an insult bait, which I fell for because I said it was crazy. This is not a bullying video. But anyway, every character should not be nerfed so Zelda players don't have to relearn an upbeat tech. Um, why did I need to say that? Just like step back a bit, like just relearn it. It's goddamn. Anyway, um, wrong page, sir. Page three. Okay. Right, and as for the sloppy angles, still giving 1.0 cardinal, I disagree with Hacks and agree with the UCF team. There you go. So at the start of the video, I said that I wouldn't be biased in Hacks' favor the whole time. Well, 38 minutes in, and I'm not biased in Hacks' favor for once. So I kept my promise, but there's a reason. It's not just so that I sound unbiased. There is a good reason for this that I will explain now. From a game design perspective, it doesn't make sense for upright to send you as quickly to the right as full right. I believe oversimplifying it that much would take some depth and nuance out of the game. However, full right, left, up or down should be 1.0 cardinal. The game shouldn't be left in a worse off state for the sake of preserving muscle memory. Um, it's hard, but it can be done to change muscle memory. Um, in the late stages of Smash 4, I relearned how to play Smash without tap jump because I did not want Yoshi to jump all the times um, I wanted him to up B. That change was huge, and going through that process made me um, a way better player long term because no tap jump is useful for a bunch of reasons. I didn't realize until tap jump was washed from my muscle memory. I know I went over that twice, but if 0.9875 is preserved for such poor logic, then UCF is officially the enemy. That's what I wrote. I must have been feeling cringy when I wrote that. Um, anyway, vertical throw fix and C-stick ledge file fix. Um, I hope Hacks has patience here and waits. I don't like the conservative approach either, but the UCF team seem to agree on this one, but they want to wait for the controller rule set to be completed, which is fine. Okay, just technically 3 pages left. Well, it depends on if you count one full page as a side, but um, okay. So SDI remainder fix is on the next page, on the phone, like, right. I'd say this sounds like a bad faith argument, but oh yeah, this is where I got hostile, because yeah, all right, I'll just speak it because all right, so I would say this sounds like a bad faith argument, but I don't want Andrew Nestico to spin this video as an insult fest where I just bully him. And this is in reference to him saying that when Hacks called his video, sorry, not video, but when Hacks called UCF preposterous, um, Andrew stretched it to fucking Earth and the moon to say that the video was full of insults. Well, that's what it came off as. Now maybe I don't know. It kind of came off as very bad faith when he said it on Twitter. Um, right. So where was I? Okay. The first point is this can't be done stealth, but then oh yeah, okay. So his first point is that this can't be done stealth, but then he goes on to explain how minimal it is and describes a low percent loss of STI as nearly negligible. If you don't know better, you might think that stealth and this part, the stealth part is a joke because I do see the jump toggle as important. Okay, I get that point, but stealth and negligible are just excuses for not caring enough about issues to fix them. But that's because you see nearly negligible SDI distance. Um, yeah. So you see what? God, I can't even read my own script. What you see is nearly negligible SDI distance, but what a Nintendo Ninja sees is a future CND to write up. Um, so yeah, I've already said that point that it will be dismissed as a bullying video if I keep going, but so I don't need to keep saying that. Um, it is mostly a joke. It's just like I really, really don't think anyone at Nintendo is gonna notice that. Um, right, so tree frame dash back out of crouch. Hacks led us to believe that dash back out of crouch works 75% of the time. If hash if Hacks lied about the 75%, then damn, dark triad behavior. Um, well, at least I can say that about Hacks and not worry about him being a bitch about it. Um, another score on the board for UCF, but it's around 10 to 2 in Hax's favor. Now, I noticed that I'm a bit of a hypocrite here because I give Hax a pass for lying about that, but then I go on to roast the fuck out of UCF for not being transparent. Um, so I don't know what to do because I've only spotted it now and did not intend to. Well, shit. Right. Well, at least I'm honest. That's all I'll say. I'll keep reading my script, and then in the process, I'll try and think of a justification for not roasting Hex too. Maybe Hex deserves to be roasted for that one, because you see, the thing is, I don't know if he was lying about the 75% thing. That needs to be clarified because I'm not sure. Does he mean like it's so hard to do that you'd only get it 75% of the time, or if it's a polling thing? But I don't think he said it was a polling thing. Um, right. Okay, so I'm gonna be a bit nicer to the UCF team because of that mistake and not read the script as it was written. Um, I'll read some of it because some of the points are still good. All right, so dash mechanics slide. This is hard to judge because fast enough speed isn't stated. I don't like this design decision to the point. Um, I'm not going to read that part. I don't see the UCF team are fit to call the shots on controller fixes or what is or is not arbitrary. Even if the speed they picked for the control stick to move at is perfect, I use perfect as loosely as possible because there is no perfect or right or wrong answer. Whatever was picked is the dictionary definition of arbitrary. Even with testing, why should a tiny group of people in comparison to the rest of the melee? Sorry about that, I got interrupted by something, but in comparison to the rest of the melee player base, to be allowed to fine tune the speed of your control stick. Sorry, to be allowed to fine tune the speed your control stick should move at the point. It's not 1 frame or 2 frames, but somewhere in between. So basically, my point kind of got fucked because my video got fucked. But the point I'm trying to make is that it's so specific, um, like it's between a frame that this thing is. I mean, it's technically more than a frame, but it's not 2 frames either. It, it's weird, and it's so unclear. I don't even know what the speed is, because they didn't say it. They didn't say how fast you need to move your control stick at. Um, so like, what is the frame window you have to move your control stick from to get the dash back, you know? Um, all right, so even aside from all that, the fact that they weren't transparent about this, um, pro probably because of how bad and blatantly arbitrary it sounds, or the specific speed your stick needs to be moving should be a big enough red flag to not let the UCF team play game designer any longer. This I need to dial back a bit because Hax isn't perfect either. Um, but like, I don't know if Hax made a mistake or if he tried to lie. But with this, it's not really trying to lie or manipulate for any reason. It's kind of just you're not explaining the full how the controller works, the controls work, and a lack of explanation. To be honest, is not as bad as lying. So if Hax was lying, then this whole part is fucked. But mm, maybe he meant 75%. as in difficulty. I don't know. Um, Man, I didn't want to jump to Hack's side and realize throughout the video that maybe Hacks was not right. But it's only on this one issue because he said the dash back out of crouch was a 75% thing. Um, if it's not true, then I don't know what to say. Maybe Melee doesn't have good controller designers or like controls designers. Before now, every Melee top player would have said, this is the summary, okay? Would have said that UCF dashback is a 2-frame window, and due to the lack of transparency, they all would have been wrong. Every top player would have been wrong. So unless Cody, the Summit 13 and Double Down champ, does not care about winning enough to take Screwdriver to his controller, then maybe the issue is transparency, unfinished software, and asking players to fix something about their hardware instead of just fixing the faulty software causing the issue in the first place. Melee community, we need someone better than the UCF team. My next words in the script is I nominate Hacks. He needs to clarify the 75% thing before I can nominate Hacks because when I wrote the script and I brought up the 75% thing, I assumed it was a mistake. Um, but if it's not a mistake and there is no polling issue that causes dash back out of crouch to fail due to polling over a 2-frame window, then Hacks is just wrong. And then he lied, and unless, like I said, he meant difficulty wise. So I don't know. Then I give Hacks a bunch of advice and then make a roast about the Melee community, but it doesn't hit the same now that I'm not even sure about Hacks. Um, yeah. I wanted to end this on a way better note, but I need that. I can't be a hypocrite myself. I can't say that the UCF team was not being transparent and then also say that Hacks was, it's okay for the Hacks to misinform us. So yeah, that's how this video ends, unfortunately. Um, because I said I wasn't gonna be biased, and I'm not, and that's how the video has to end, with uncertainty, because both parties are not doing the game justice. And Hacks, I had the most faith in Hacks, and I still do have the most faith in Hacks. I just need that part clarified before I can go off on the Melee community and say that. Let me just say my roast real quick because it was a good one. Um, where is it? Okay, where's my roast? Um, oh yeah, okay. As for closing thoughts on UCF versus Melee 1.03, I'll do what the Melee community does best and be an armchair psychologist about it. If you don't think 1.03 is better than UCF, then you're crazy. Yeah, so that was my corny roast. That's extra corny now because I'm not even sure if Hacks meant to misinform us about dash back out of crouch and the 3 frames, or if he was just trying to buff the box. Ugh, yeah. Anyway, my advice to hacks that I give at the end is just stop deleting videos. Give us a stealth edition of 1.03. Don't play God Game Designer. No tilt intent algorithms. That's part of the don't play God Game Designer. Check if the control stick meets an arbitrary speed. Be transparent. Listen to the community and criticism, even about the box. And please don't be this guy. No, I'll show this guy. Hold on. Do I show him? Do I show him? Ah, fuck it, we'll go with it. Because this is a TO. You can read it for yourself, but here's his response to I have nothing bad about the first thing he says, except my response, which I say here. So why not make it public? TOs need players and audience. We're relevant. I'm keeping it short because I'm rambling a bit too much. Nah, this is not something that needs every random on Twitter weighing in. People are incapable of shutting the fuck up, clearly. So it's just causes headaches and annoyance. The community at large does not need to be informed about every step along the way. So this guy, if you check his bio, is a TO, and everyone else in the melee community, except on his status or above, um, your vote, your opinion doesn't matter. Yeah, hacks don't be this guy. Um, he is on a very fucking high horse, and he looks like a douchebag. Um, anyway, yeah. Um, I'm out. Have a good one.